Hi there, I'm Cath. My channel is made by Cath Craft. Thank you so much for joining me today for another one of my videos. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my top 9 makes of 2021. So I already did a video earlier this month talking about my favourite makes of 2021, where I picked some favourite makes based on a load of different categories, and I'll put a link up to that video in case you haven't seen that one. But this video is my most popular makes as voted by Instagram. So at the end of the year on Instagram, a lot of people post up their top 9 or their best 9 of the year, and it's the 9 makes that got the most likes on Instagram. And I think it's quite interesting to see what gets the most likes. It's not always what you expect. Sometimes I put a picture up and it really surprises me, how many people like it. And my top 9 makes for 2021 is a real mix actually. There's some newer makes in there from 2021, but also this last year gone by, I did make an effort to put up some pictures of old makes that I still wear and love, because I think it's really nice to still show off the makes you're still wearing year on year too. And some of those makes did really well and got a lot of likes too, so it's a really nice mix I think in this video. And I'm going to start from the 9th most popular and then go up to the 1st most popular and take you through all of those. And I usually start the video with what I'm wearing today, but actually what I'm wearing is one of those top 9 makes, so I'll be talking about what I'm wearing later in the video. But I'll start with number 9 of my top 9 of 2021, and that is a make I made using this pattern here. It's the Hudson pants pattern by True Bias. It's a really nice pattern for a pair of jogging bottoms. They've got a really nice shape to them. They've kind of got a low rise and a slim leg, and you can also make them in a sort of yoga pant, sort of shorter cropped length that just sits below your knee as well. And they've got an elasticated waist with a cord at the front you can add optionally, and this little pocket detail. And you can actually, although it's a low rise, there is actually a blog post on the True Bias website, but it shows you how to turn them into a higher rise, higher waisted option if that's what you prefer. But they sew up really nicely. The instructions are really clear. I've made loads of versions of this pattern. I have the mini version, which is for children, and also the men's version, so I've made them for the whole family. So yeah, it's one of those patterns that I kind of can sew without looking at the instructions. They sew it really nicely, and they're just really comfy and relaxed to wear. And they've got a really good size range too. I've got the paper pattern, which goes from a size 0 to a size 18, but there's also a PDF version available in the size 14 to 30 range, I think it is. So a really good size range on it. And the pair that were my 9th most popular make of 2021 on Instagram is this pair here. Which I made in this really lovely Mind the Maker sweatshirt fabric. It's fleece backed, you can see it's really fleecy and snuggly and thick inside, and then I used their ribbing for the waistband because I thought the fleece fabric might be a bit bulky once you gathered it, and for the pocket detail and also for the cuffs at the bottom. The pattern does state you need to use a knit fabric with a stretch of approximately 25% and with good recovery too. I actually made one pair quite early. I think it might be my first pair of Hudson pants, and the French Terrier I made it in, it didn't have the greatest recovery, so I still love wearing them now, but they are a bit baggy in the knees where they've got stretched out of shape a little bit, but I still like to wear that pair. But it's a really lovely substantial fabric that I made this pair in. I'm not sure it's got 25% stretch. It's quite sort of thick and sturdy and not super stretchy. So when I made this pair, I actually just widened the leg piece a little bit. I didn't actually adjust the pattern pieces. When I cut them out, I just cut a little bit wider than the pattern piece lines, just to give me a bit of extra room in the legs so I could bend my knees. And I didn't add the cord or the little sort of buttonholes at the front because I wasn't sure I'd be able to get a cord that matched this fabric, and I quite like how simple they look like this. But I put up a picture of me wearing them. This is the picture that I posted on Instagram that was my 9th most popular one of 2021. They're just a really comfy, cosy make. Oh, and I should mention this fabric, the colour is sienna, if you're interested. It's a really nice sort of rust/brown type colour. And I got the fabric and the matching ribbing from Minerva. And the great thing about the Mind the Maker sweatshirt fleece fabrics is they have the matching colour ribbing for every colour they have. So although it's a bit pricey, it's really nice quality, and I love to be able to get matching ribbing. And it particularly works really well on the ankle cuffs because the ribbing's nice and stretchy. I think if I'd made the ankle cuffs in the fleece fabric, they might be a bit tricky to get on over my ankles, but that is my 9th most popular make of 2021 as voted by Instagram, my Hudson pants in this lovely, cosy Mind the Maker fleecy fabric. Oh, and I just realised I didn't mention the sizing I went for on the pattern. So my sizing puts me at a size 0 for the waist, which is 26 inches, and then a size 4 for the hips, which is 36 inches. So when I've made these joggers, I've always gone for in between. I've just chosen the straight size 2. I think because it's quite a sort of relaxed fit, because you can kind of put the elastic in around the waist to bring it to the fit you want, and because it's stretchy, yeah, I didn't bother grading between the sizes. I just went for the size in the middle, and that's always fit me absolutely fine. So yeah, that's the size I went for on my first of my top makes of 2021. So moving on to my 8th most popular Instagram post or make of 2021, and this is actually a skirt and top combination. The top's a newer make and the skirt's an older make, and I put them together because I really like the combination when I wear them. And the top is from this book here, which is the Stretch book by Tilly and the Buttons. It's my favourite pattern from this book, and if you've watched more of my vlogs, you'll know which pattern that is, I think probably. It is the Freya top. So it's designed for knit fabrics. It's quite a close fitting top. It's this one here. So yeah, it's quite close fitting. It's got negative ease, and it's got this neckline which is called a mock neckline, and I really like it because it's not too high and not too tight, so it's really comfy to wear. And then you can also make a dress version of this top, and there are a couple of other different necklines too. But I've got quite a few of these tops in my wardrobe. I think they're really great for layering up, and they're nice wearing on their own too. They're really comfy to wear, and they sew up really quickly too. But yeah, the version on sizing, they go from UK 6 to UK 20, so it's not the biggest size range ever, but I have mentioned before in other vlogs that a great alternative with a bigger size range is the Nico top by True Bias, if you want to check that one out. But the top that was one of my eighth most popular makes of 2021 is this one here. And it's one I made in this really pretty fabric. This is a tencel jersey fabric, and I never sewed with a tencel jersey before. But it's really slinky and drapey, and it's a ribbed tencel jersey. It's called a Derby ribbed jersey, and it's by Meets Milk. And I got this from Minerva. It's a really pretty colour. It's kind of creamy off-white colour, and it's called Shell. And I wasn't sure how I'd get on with sewing a tencel jersey because it was something new to me. I use my walking foot, which I think always helps. But actually it sewed up nicely. It's really slinky and comfy to wear too, so I really love this top. I haven't got so many plain Freyas. Historically I've been drawn to kind of patterned ones, but I love having a sort of lighter coloured plain one in my wardrobe. I find it really wearable and it works with lots of things. So that is my top, and I made that in a standard size 2, which is the size I usually make for Tilly and the Buttons patterns. I think size 2 is bang on for my bust and waist measurements, and my hips might be an inch larger. Because there's plenty of stretch in this fabric, I've never bothered grading out, and it fits fine. So that is the top as part of my outfit combination. And the skirt is this one here. And this is the Nina Lee Camden skirt. I'll show you the pattern. It's a skirt and pinafore pattern by Nina Lee. It's kind of an A-line skirt with these really cool sort of patch pockets with this little angular detail. And it's got an invisible zip at the back, and it's designed to sit on your waist and then sort of flare out slightly. It's got a bit of top stitching down the front. It sews up really nicely, this one, and I think it's a really classic skirt that really works with lots of things. In terms of sizing on this one, like the Tilly and the Buttons Freya top, it goes from a UK 6 to a UK 20. Nina Lee has released some of her patterns in a second size range that takes it up to, I think, a size 30 or 28 maybe, but she hasn't done it for this pattern here. But yeah, my version I made in a really lovely rust coloured corduroy fabric. This is the Robert Kaufman corduroy fabric that I got from Guthrie Garney. It's quite a fine sort of needle cord, as you can see, but it's quite substantial, and it has a bit of structure, so it holds the A-line shape of the skirt nicely. And then for the lining and for the zip, I used a sort of creamy fabric, and the lining is a Q Pro Bemberg fabric. And it was my first time sewing with that. It's a kind of breathable lining. It's really lightweight and fluid. It was quite tricky to cut out. It slipped and slid all over the place. Once it was cut out, I didn't find the sewing of it too bad. Again, I used my walking foot, but you can see the invisible zip there at the back. And it's got darts to bring it in as well. And I'll put up a picture of my outfit so you can see what it looks like. I really like this colour combination. I think I posted this probably on Instagram around autumn because it gave me real autumnal vibes. And oh, and the sizing on the skirt. So I made the size 8 at the waist, and then I graded out to a size 10 at the hips, I think, or maybe a size 9, somewhere between 8 and 10, based on my measurements. But I actually find that size 8 comes up a little bit large around my waist. So it's fine if I'm wearing a chunky jumper underneath, but if I'm wearing something a bit more lightweight, like this Freya top, there's a bit of room there. So Part of me thinks maybe at some point I'll try taking it in a little bit around the waist, but I'm not sure. I'll see how I go wearing it, but I really like that combination, and that is my number 8 on my top 9 for 2021. So number 7 on my top 9 for 2021 is one of my older makes actually. It's a dress, and I think I posted it in 2021 around the summer when we were about to head off on summer holiday, because this dress really makes me think of summer holidays. And it's a dress I made using this pattern here, which is the day dress pattern by the Avid Seamstress. I'll show you the line drawings for it. It's a it's a dress designed for woven fabrics, and it's got quite a fitted bodice. It's got bust darts and also darts that come up in the waist. So it's designed to be quite a fitted silhouette, and it's got quite a lot of shaping in the bust area. Then it's got short sleeves and a gathered skirt with pockets and an invisible zip at the back. And there are a couple of other variations. I've always made this simple version here, but there are a couple of other variations to add buttons down the front, or to sort of cut the front in 2 pieces and add some top stitching. It's a really nice pattern. The envelope is super chunky because the instructions are really comprehensive. So there are some fiddly bits to making this pattern, like inserting the invisible zip, but actually the instructions really hold your hand through the whole process. The only downside of this pattern is it doesn't have the biggest size range ever. It goes from a UK 8 to a UK 18, and the largest size is for bust 42 and waist 35 inches, so not the biggest size range ever. And I've made a couple of versions of this. It's designed for lightweight woven fabrics, and I've used cotton lawns and cotton poplins. And the version that came in at number 7 on my top 9 of 2021 is one I made using cotton poplin, and you'll see why it reminds me of summer holidays, because it's got this really funky ice cream print on it, which I really, really love. It's got this sort of blue base and all these really pretty ice cream colours. And this is an art gallery cotton poplin fabric. And I had a look, and they do still have this in stock at Minerva, so I'll link it down below. There's also a jersey version with a smaller ice cream print in white, and I made a dress out of that too. I just love an ice cream print, clearly. But like I said, I made the version without any detail down the front because I thought I wanted the print to stand out for itself. But it's got the darts at the back, it's got the invisible zip, and then it's got the pockets. And it's a really nice, fun one to wear. In terms of sizing, I went for the size UK 8 size version, which is a bust 32 inches, waist 26 inches and hips 35 inches. So that's my bust and waist measurements, and my hips are slightly bigger because it's a gathered skirt, there's plenty of room there. But I actually ended up taking it in a little bit around the waist because I found it came up a little bit large on the waist, but it is quite fitted now, so I think you could probably leave it a bit more looser and that'll be fine too. But I'll put up a picture of me wearing this one. I always enjoy wearing it, it is so much fun. And yeah, if you want something to stretch you a little bit but has great instructions, I would recommend this pattern. Oh, and I thought I'd mention as well, if you are interested in this pattern, there's also a really great tutorial on the Avid Seamstress website that I used when I was making my first version. And it's got lots of colour photographs of different stages, and I found that particularly helpful when I was inserting the invisible zip at the back, because I was a bit nervous about what I was doing there. So I'll link that down below in case you fancy checking that one out. But yeah, that was my number 7, a really summery make. So my 6th most popular make, as voted by Instagram, is another older make from pre-2021, and it's one I made using this pattern here, which is the Sagebrush top pattern by Friday Pattern Company. And this pattern has been so popular, I've seen so many really cool versions on Instagram, and I can see why, because it's got some really lovely details and it makes an outfit like jeans a bit special, I think, if you wear a Sagebrush top because of the pretty details. So yeah, I'll show you the line drawings. It's designed for woven fabrics, and it's quite a boxy shaped top, and it's got a little yoke at the back and a little tie, and then at the front it's got a little gathering and then this ruffle, and then the neckline is finished with exposed bias binding, which I think is a really pretty finish, and it's got these really puffy sleeves with an elasticated bottom that kind of fall just above your elbow. So loads of pretty details on it, and I always find Friday Pattern Company instructions are really good, and they're really clear and take you through the process really nicely, and this one just sews up so well. And the size range is great on this one too. It goes from extra small to a 7X, and the largest size is for a bust of 60 inches. So yeah, really inclusive size range on this one. And the version I made, I think I posted this version on Instagram in 2021 because I was sharing that I'd done a blog about it, a blog post about the sleeves, because I wanted to make a version of this top but with slightly less puffy sleeves because I thought it would just be too much on me and end up wearing me. So I took some volume out of the sleeves for both the versions I've made, and I put up a picture to say, hey, I've made a blog if you want to check it out. So here is my version. That was the one that got the 6th most popular slot for 2021. I made this version, this really pretty Cloud 9 rayon fabric, which I got from Sister Mentaka. I think it's sold out now, unfortunately, but I would really recommend Cloud 9 rayon fabrics if you do come across them. They're so light and silky. They're really, really beautiful. And they were nice to sew with too. You can sort of only see the ruffle quite subtly because it's quite a busy print. And then you can see the little sort of bias bound neckline detail. And then my sleeves, I took a bit of volume out, and like I said, I did a blog post all about how I did that, so I'll link it down below in case you fancy checking it out. But I find actually with this rayon fabric, probably wouldn't necessarily have needed to, just because the rayon's so drapey, the sleeves don't look that sort of voluminous, wouldn't look that voluminous anyway, even if I didn't have taken the volume out. But my other version I made in a double gauze, and I think those sleeves would have really been quite puffy if I hadn't taken the volume out. But I'll put a picture up, the one I posted on Instagram, so you can see how it looks on. In terms of sizing on this one, I made the smallest size. That is for my bust, but the waist and hips measurement for that one are a bit smaller. But this top is really boxy and there's plenty of room in it, so I found the smallest size, extra small, to be absolutely fine on me. But it's a really nice sew, and I really think this fabric's pretty, and I think it's a perfect top to wear on a summery day with some trainers and a pair of jeans. So that was my number 6 on my top 9 list. Oh, and one thing I did want to mention on the Sagebrush top actually is it's worth bearing in mind it's quite a fabric hungry top, because the sleeve pattern pieces in particular are really quite big. So yeah, if you have got a small amount of fabric, this probably isn't the top for you, but if you've got a decent amount of fabric, it's a really, really great woven top pattern. Number 5 on my top 9 list for 2021 is actually what I'm wearing here, and you can't see the bottom half, but this is a dress. And it's quite a recent make actually. I made this in I think probably October or November of 2021, so it's one of my newer makes. And it's actually a bit of a mashup of 2 different patterns, and I had a lot of fun sewing this one. So I had this beautiful fabric. It is an Atelier Brunette viscose challis fabric. It's a very, very, very dark navy colour. And it's got these really pretty sort of taupe and sort of burnt orange colours on it. And when I bought it, I knew I wanted to make a dress, but I wasn't sure which one. I wanted to make something that'll be fairly timeless, that I could wear for quite a long time to come. So I decided to do a mashup of one dress pattern I'd already made, and then add a little feature of another pattern. And the main dress pattern I used is this one here, the Nina Lee Bakerloo dress and blouse pattern. And I made a corduroy version of the dress before and really enjoyed sewing it, and I really like the shape of it. Just little things like I like where the sort of sleeve cap sits and where the darts are and that sort of thing. So I decided to make this dress pattern, but I decided to make a more understated collar. So I borrowed the collar from another pattern, which is this pattern here, the Nielsen Sudley blouse and dress pattern. And yeah, I'd made a couple of versions of the blouse before with this pretty sort of cut out keyhole neckline, but I'd never used the collar, but I'd always wanted to. It's this sort of cute, slightly smaller Peter Pan collar. So I borrowed the collar and kind of retraced the shape of it to fit the Bakerloo neckline, and as you can see, here it is, and I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. So yeah, in terms of sizing on this one, the Bakerloo dress pattern and actually the Sudley pattern too both have really great size ranges. The Sudley has a 0 to 20 size range and a 14 to 30 size range. The Bakerloo dress has, again, 2 size ranges. There's a B cup size range, which goes from up from a 6 to a size 20, and there's a D cup size range, which goes from a 16 to a 28. I made the size 6 at the bust, and then I graded out to a size 8 at the hips based on my measurement, and I really like the fit of that. I did make a few adaptations to the pattern in the process of sewing it. The first thing I did was I took some volume out of the sleeves, because the Bakerloo dress is designed to have kind of balloon sleeves, and I didn't want that. I wanted something a bit more subtle. So I took quite a lot of volume out of the sleeve, and then I didn't have enough fabric to add a ruffle at the end, because the Bakerloo pattern has this little ruffle at the end, but you need a facing for it. And I was really, really tight on fabric for this one. So I just made a simple elasticated cuff, but I quite like how that's turned out. Then I also, another adjustment I make on the Bakerloo dress and blouse pattern is just to bring the armhole down slightly, because I made a toile of the first version I made because I thought the sleeve was going to be too big, so I kind of narrowed it in and checked how the narrowed one looked. And when I was making that, I found it did come up quite tight around the arms, so I just added in a bit more volume, a bit more sort of space there, just to give a bit more comfort there. And I also added waist ties. I'll stand up and show you them, just to cinch the dress in a little bit at the waist. And I mentioned I was really tight on fabric for this one. I wanted to add pockets, but I didn't have enough fabric for the pockets, so the pocket bags are quite jazzy on this one. I'll stand up to show you. I used some scraps of a Mind the Maker viscose twill I had that I'd made. I think I made a estuary skirt by So Liberated, a sort of mini skirt version in this cool leopard print fabric, and I had just enough for the pocket bags, and I think they're quite fun. I mean, you can't really see them, only I know they're there, but I quite like them. So yeah, I made a few adjustments to this pattern, and I'm really pleased with how it's come out now, and I'll put a picture up so you can see how it looks on. It's really comfy to wear. It feels a bit dressy, to be honest, for an average day like today, but I thought, why not enjoy it? Yeah, I just really like it, and the Atelier Brunette fabric was really lovely to sew with, and what's lovely about it is it's not printed, it's black all the way through, so even if you happen to snag it, you wouldn't get any like white runs on it or anything, but actually it's sewed up really nicely. So that's number 5 on my top 9, a Bakerloo-Sudley mashup using this really pretty Atelier Brunette viscose challis. So moving on to number 4 on my most popular makes on Instagram for 2021. And this one is a blouse, and it's one from 2021, so it's one of my newer makes on this list. And this blouse, I was lucky enough to be approached by Atelier Dupe last year. And Atelier Dupe is a small Belgian-based company, and they make their own really beautiful fabrics and also patterns too. And they asked me if I'd like to choose a pattern and fabric from their new Autumn-Winter 2021 collection and sew it up. So I was really excited to have a look at their patterns and fabrics, and I chose to sew up their blouse pattern called the Freya blouse. And I'll show you the line drawings for that pattern. I've got them here. The Freya blouse is designed to be sewn in light and weight woven fabrics, and it's a really beautiful sort of romantic French inspired blouse pattern. It's got a band collar, it's got this ruching detail at the front and a button down placket. At the back it's got this yoke and an inverted pleat, which I think is a really pretty detail. And then on the sleeves, which are kind of 3/4 length sleeves, there's another pleat and little sort of band cuff. So some really pretty details. And it's designed to be an intermediate pattern. I think it's rated as a 3 out of 4 difficulty, and I would say there are some fiddly bits, so I definitely think that rating is right on this one. The size range on it goes from a UK 6 to a 24. And I'll show you the fabric I chose for my version. It's this really beautiful viscose fabric by Atelier Dupe. It's got this navy base, and it's got these really pretty lighter blue floral and pink floral designs on it. I thought it was a really pretty fabric. I ordered 2 different colour buttons online, and I chose the button that sort of tones in with sort of middle blues on the pattern. I'm pleased with how that button matches really nicely, I think. This is my version. In terms of sizing on this one, the smallest size on the Atelier Dupe pattern, the size 6, is designed for bust 34, waist 27 and hips 37. And my measurements are slightly smaller than that. I am 32, 26, 36. So I wasn't sure how it would come sew up actually, but I found it absolutely fine. I really like the fit across the shoulders. The shoulders fit is just right on me. And I think because the fabric is so drapey, it kind of falls nicely. It doesn't look too oversized. Maybe if I'd have made it in a sort of more structured fabric, it might look a bit too big, but I think in the viscose it's perfect. It's a really nice, enjoyable sew. I did make a couple of changes just to the construction, in particular in the interfacing. Because the fabric's so lightweight, the pattern recommended you kind of interface the whole button placket, so you'd ended up with 2 layers of interfacing. And again, on the cuffs, they recommended you interface the whole cuff, so you've ended up with 2 layers of interfacing. But I decided to cut it in half and only interface sort of one side, so you only had 1 layer of interfacing on both those, just because I wasn't sure if it might be a little bit stiff otherwise. So I've got 1 layer of interfacing, which gives it a little bit of structure to kind of hold the shape, but not too much. So I'm quite pleased with how that turned out. And I really like the little inverted pleat at the back. And actually the picture on Instagram that was the 4th most popular for my 2021 year was actually the picture of the back. So I'll put that one up so you can see it, just showing off that lovely inverted pleat detail. But I'll put up also a picture of the front so you can see the full blouse too. But it's a really nice blouse. I just think the fabric and blouse combination of pattern is really pretty. Yeah, and another thing I like about it as well is how nicely the band collar sits. It doesn't sit up at all, it really sort of sits flat. I think it's a really pretty design how that band collar sort of sits around your neck. So that is my number 4 on my top 9 list, the Freya blouse by Atelier Dupe in Atelier Dupe fabric. And as with all the patterns and fabrics, as much as possible, I'll link them down below in the description in case you fancy checking them out. Number 3 on my top 9 2021 list is another older make, and I love how this list is a real mix of old and new. And I think I posted this one, it's a dress, and I think I posted it in winter of 2021 just to share how much I still loved wearing it and how nice and snuggly it was. And it's a dress I made using this pattern here, which is the Indigo dress by Tilly and the Buttons. It's a really nice, simple smock dress with no fastenings. You just kind of pull it on over your head. It's designed to be fairly oversized. I'll show you the line drawings. It's got this sort of gently curved empire waistband and a gathered skirt and pockets. It's got bust darts to give a bit of shaping, but it is designed to be fairly loose fit. And there are a couple of options for little extras. You can add on this little sort of ruffle sleeve, and there's also a ruffle seam that you can add on too. It's a really nice, fairly straightforward sew, designed for light to medium weight woven fabrics. And the version that I made that was part of my top 9 for 2021 is this one here, which I made in this really lovely, snugly brushed viscose fabric that I got from Stone Fabrics. I think this fabric is out of stock now, but I'll link Stone Fabrics anyway. It's really nice and cosy. It's a bit like a brushed cotton, but maybe with a bit more drape from a viscose. And for my version here, I chose to make it really simple because I wanted it just to be a very simple, cosy winter dress. So it's got the slightly curved waistband, but I just brought it down slightly, so it's slightly below an empire line. I kept the sleeve as a simple sleeve, but instead of the bracelet length sleeve per the pattern, I just lengthened it to make it full length, to make it extra cosy. It's just got the gathered skirt and pockets. And in terms of sizing, I sized down slightly on this one. I think my measurements put me at a size 2 for a bust and waist, but I think I sized down to a 1.5, just so it wasn't quite as oversized. And it's one I reach for over and over again. It's just such a great day dress, and it's really snuggly fabric to wear. And the Indigo dress is such a cool pattern. It's got loads of different options and a great size range too. In terms of sizing, it's now available in 2 size ranges. I've got the UK 6 to UK 24 size range, but there's also a 16 to 34 size range. And you can also buy an add-on to the Indigo dress too, which has lots of different options. I think it's got a button-down back option. There's a puff sleeve option that's been released more recently. There's an option to add extra tiers to it. So I think it's a really flexible woven dress pattern. The only thing that I think I might change if I made it again is it's made with a facing around the neckline, but I do prefer bias bound finish, so I think if I made it again I might use bias binding around the neckline instead. But it comes together really nicely. It's just a really cosy, snuggly one to wear, this one. And I'll put a picture up of me wearing it so you can see the full dress. This is a picture I posted on Instagram that was the 3rd most popular picture for 2021. I think it's quite a Christmassy one too, so I always like getting this one out over Christmas. It's just super cosy and relaxed to wear. Yeah, great sort of basic woven dress pattern. So number 2 on my top 9 of 2021, so my 2nd most popular Instagram post for 2021. It's a bit of a funny one actually, because I posted this on the last day of the year, so on 31st of December 2021. And I was quite surprised at how well this one did. I'd actually already posted my top 9 on my Instagram grid a couple of days earlier, so I put up a photo of my 9 most popular makes, and then this one came along on the last day of the year and it ends up taking the 2nd spot. So yeah, I was a bit surprised. It was a bit of a late sneak entry, but I was really pleased that it went down so well. And it is a picture, a sneak preview picture of a make I made using this pattern here, which is the Hovea jacket pattern by Nielsen Patterns. And you'll have seen a bit of this pattern if you watch my Vlogmas, because I made this one in the run up to Christmas and I talked about it quite a lot, the process of making it in my Vlogmas. But yeah, this pattern was released in 2021 by Nielsen. It's a really lovely jacket pattern, and as soon as I saw it I knew I wanted to make this one. It's a jacket pattern with loads of different options. I'll show you the line drawings on the back. Its basic premise is a kind of jacket for transitional weather. It's quite a relaxed fit with a dropped shoulder and these cool angled pockets. And it's got loads of different variations built in. There's a cropped version, or a sort of hip length version, or a slightly longer version. And then you can either make it with this sort of collar band around the front, or you can make it finished with bias binding. There's also a tie waist option and also these little sort of smaller waist ties at the front to kind of close it if you want. And it's designed for medium weight fabrics, and you can make it in a whole host of fabrics, and you can quilt it yourself if you want. There are instructions in the pattern for how to quilt your own fabric too. So it's a really comprehensive pattern book for this one. And it's got a great size range too, and there are 2 size ranges, a 0 to 20 size range, which is the paper pattern that I've got, but you can also get as PDF the curve range, which goes from 14 to 30. So yeah, it's one I immediately knew I wanted to make. I thought it would be great as a sort of transitional weather jacket. And I really like this version here that's worn by this model, this cropped version in this sort of quilted style fabric. And I had to look up and found that fabric was a Merchant & Mills cotton jacquard fabric. And it isn't actually quilted, it's sort of made up by lots of layers of cotton threads that sort of squished together. It's really squishy, lovely fabric. So I'll show you my Hovea jacket that won this 2nd place spot for the year at last minute. And here it is. So I made it in this really lovely sort of square print cotton jacquard fabric from Merchant & Mills, and I think it's called Harvest Pink. It's a sort of soft, sort of dusky pink colour. And then I chose for the lining to use a Liberty lining, a Liberty cotton Tana lawn fabric. I thought it really toned in well these sort of pinky flowers and the sort of ditzy floral print. And I really like how you turn up the sleeve cuff and you can see a peek of the Liberty fabric underneath. So I made the cropped version. It's got these angled pockets. It's just a really relaxed fit, sort of squishy, comfy jacket. In terms of sizing of my one, I made the size 0. That is designed for bust 32 inches, waist 24 inches and hips 34 inches. But I know this one comes quite oversized from the finished garment measurement, so I thought that would be fine. There'll be plenty of room in there, and there is. I made a toile of this before I cut into my really nice expensive fabric, and I decided based on the toile to lengthen both the sleeves and the jacket body, and I lengthened them both by 1.5 inches, just so yeah, that kind of fits my body shape a little bit better and gives me plenty of room to turn up the cuff without it being too short, because I do like that little pop of Liberty fabric there. So it was a really fun make actually. I found the instructions really good. I really enjoyed the whole process, and it comes together surprisingly quickly, and Megan Nielsen does hold your hand really well, I think, through the process of making a little lined jacket. And I'll put out the picture that got the second most popular slot on my Instagram in 2021. It's just a little sneak peek with that, with that little pop of the Liberty lining on the cuff. And then I also put up a picture of the full jacket so you can see what it looks like too. But it was a really fun make, this one. It's such a squishy, comfy jacket, and I can't wait for the weather to warm up so I can wear it out come spring. So that brings me on to my number one make on my top 9 for 2021, so my most popular Instagram post of 2021. And you may have already seen this one if you watched my favourite makes of 2021 video, because I included the Instagram favourite in there too. But it's another dress pattern, and it's another pre-2021 dress pattern again, so an older make. And it's a make I made using this pattern here, which is the Myosotis dress by Deer and Doe. It's a really lovely dress pattern for woven fabrics. It's essentially a shirt dress and designed to be fairly oversized, and it's got some really pretty details. It's got bust darts and waist darts to give a bit of shaping. It's got this pretty button down front with this sort of slightly angular shaped top bit here that goes into a band collar. It's got a gathered skirt and short sleeves, but you can add on a ruffle to the sleeves and also to the bottom. It's just a really pretty one. I've seen so many nice versions of this in all sorts of fabrics. I think it's suitable for light to medium weight fabrics, and I've seen versions in like rayons and double gauze and cotton, lawn and poplin and all sorts, and it always looks really, really nice. And I posted my version because I shared what I was going to wear on Christmas Day as my Christmas Day dress, and this is my version here. I made mine this really, really pretty Atelier Brunette double gauze fabric. The colour is Amarante. It's a really lovely, deep, sort of rich red colour, and it's got these little gold metallic spots on it. And it's quite a smooth double gauze. It's not a crinkly double gauze. It's slightly crinkly because it's been in the wardrobe, but it's not like a sort of, roughly double gauze. It's, quite a smooth, flat finish. And I also bought the matching buttons for this one because, I thought it'd be really hard otherwise to find a button that matched at all, and I wanted them to tone in. So I got the Atelier Brunette matching buttons. But it's really beautiful fabric, and it was perfect for Christmas Day because what I like about double gauze is it keeps you quite cosy because it's nice and soft and cottony, but equally it's quite breathable too, so when I was making Christmas dinner I didn't get too overheated. So in my version I made in the size 0. The pattern sizing is not the biggest ever. The paper pattern goes from a size European 34 to 46, but there are extra sizes available to download on Deer and Doe's website in PDF, which takes up to a European 52, which is for bust 46, waist 38 and hips 48. But it's quite an oversized shirt dress, and I sized down, so I made the smallest size, and that's actually designed for bust 31.5 inches, waist 23.5 inches and hips 33.75 inches, which is quite a lot smaller than me. But the finished garment measurements show there's loads of ease in this one, and I didn't want it to be too large, particularly not with a more sort of structured fabric like double gauze. I wanted it to be a bit more fitted. So I sized down. I also brought the waist down by about 1 inch and to bring it more towards my natural waist. And then I added on waist ties to cinch it in a little bit as well. And then I made the version with a ruffle on the bottom of the dress too, because I thought that's a pretty feature. So I'll put up a picture of the dress. This is the post that got the most likes for me in 2021 on Instagram. And I can see why, because it is a really pretty dress, I think. The fabric is just gorgeous. They've got this fabric, I think, in stock at Minerva, so I'll link it down below. It's really lovely to sew with. The only tricky thing is ironing and avoiding getting the iron anywhere near these little spots because they will, they're not cotton, so they will potentially sort of burn on the iron. So that's one little tricky thing to be aware of. But yeah, it's sewed up really nicely and I always really enjoy wearing this one. I think it's such a pretty colour, and yeah, I really like how the waist ties bring the waist in and give it a little bit of shaping. So that was my top 9 2021 as chosen by Instagram, my 9 most popular posts on Instagram. And I think it's a really interesting mix actually. I'm really glad some of my older makes made their way in there too, because it's nice to see that you can still celebrate those older makes you still love wearing. It'll be interesting to see what 2022 brings. I can never predict what's going to be popular on Instagram, so yeah, really interesting to see what ends up being my top 9 for 2022 too. But thank you so much for joining me to hear a little bit about all of those makes. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about them. If you have, I would love it if you give this video a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, I love to talk about all things sewing related, and if you'd like to hear more from me, I would love it if you would subscribe. And if you press the bell notification, that means you'll be notified when my future videos come out. So thanks again, I hope you have a lovely day and I will see you again soon. Bye!